Hello, friends. What you're about to hear is not the most musical thing, but it's an excerpt of an etude from my book that has just been released. It's a book on Gypsy jazz picking technique. So here it comes. So there we go. That was one of the etudes, one of the 4 etudes that I wrote that you can find at the end of the book. Kind of sum up everything that we covered in the book. And just in case you haven't watched it, watch not last week, 2 weeks ago, the video that I made 2 weeks ago where I was introducing the book. Now it's available. You can get it on Amazon. Check out the pinned comment for links and all that stuff. And what else can I say? Well, it's almost the end of the year. Here I am in the west coast of Japan, Fukuoka. It's kind of cold out here. I'm staying in this Airbnb that has like this cool Snoopy wallpaper. It's very cool. I wanted to say a few words just to thank everyone for supporting me this year. It's kind of a new way for me of doing things, this whole YouTube thing, which I'm not quite used to doing yet, but I have to do it because the pandemic turned my life upside down. Anyway, thank you so much for the support thus far. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. If you want to support me, you can buy something off of Sound Slice or DC Music School, which is having its end of year sale. Lots of goodies on DC Music School. Or you can buy some music on Bandcamp. You'll find all the link in the description box. Thank you so much. Okay, so about this book that's just been released. It talks about gypsy jazz picking, as I said. And as I said 2 weeks ago, it's not a method book per se, but it's a book that explains the philosophies behind the picking technique used by gypsy jazz players, by Django Reinhardt, by players from the early 20th century. Why did they pick that way? What are the reasons for that? The mechanics. And once you understand the mechanics, it all makes sense. And from there, I show you different variations because it's not something that's fixed in stone. People will have little variations and in their hand position, and that affects certain things with the pick strokes and whatnot, whether you're going to use an upstroke or a downstroke. And so, as I said in the book, if you were to adopt a wider angle, that lends itself to picking louder in a more efficient way anyway. And when you have this kind of an angle, you tend to use more downstrokes. And also because your hand is angled like so, the plane of attack is kind of at an angle going this way. And then, I explain all that in detail. But there are some players out there who sometimes who change the angle. Instead of being like this, their right hand angle is a little bit more like this. The Raudo Schmidt is sometimes like that. Almost more of a straight arm kind of thing. Not quite straight, but not quite angled like this. Somewhere there. And by doing so, the plane of attack is different. And this is what allows you to do more upstrokes, to incorporate more upstrokes in your picking. But this comes often at the expense of volume. Of course, it's still, no matter which picking technique that you adopt, it is always possible to play with volume, but certain positions are more efficient than others, and that's what the book talks about. So it's basically a book that I hope will get you to think a little bit so that you can make your own choices, because I'm not saying you have to play this way or that way. Having worked with all the best players in the gypsy jazz style, I've seen all the different variations. There's no secret left anymore for me. and I'm sharing all this with you in the book. And another thing is, okay, with that said, I do show, quote unquote, the traditional picking style that was mainly used in the early 20th century, the one where you adopt sort of an angle with the right hand so you can get maximum projection and therefore more downstrokes. So I give tons and tons of musical examples with all the pick strokes, suggested pick strokes, because sometimes there are exceptions. Lots of examples, and instead of showing you exercises, I show you phrases that are typical, maybe not phrases and patterns that are very typical in the gypsy jazz style. Because I think if you're going to work on technique, why not kill two birds with one stone? So work on technique, but also develop some vocabulary at the same time. And so this etude that I played for you over the changes of I Can't Give You Anything But Love uses a lot of these typical patterns. So my hope is that as you practice these etudes or these phrases, not only will you build your technique, but you will train your ears to hear the typical sounds, patterns used in the style. I was told by my publisher to let you guys know that at the moment, the book is on discount, so do get it now. Let me show you one of the patterns from the book. It's this kind of enclosure thingy over a C chord. Now let me show you the pattern from this angle here, right here. Oh yeah. So you can see my right hand. So when I adopt this kind of wide angle, whenever I do a downstroke, it's not that I intend it to be a rest stroke, but it just happens to be a rest stroke just because it's the most natural movement when you adopt this position. And even when I play fast, it is also potentially a rest stroke. Let's find out. Let's slow down the video and watch what my right hand does. Let's do it again. Oh yeah. And even when I play fast, so the book covers everything you need to know about gypsy jazz picking technique. And yeah, talks about the mechanics, the typical patterns, and even some of the left-hand, right-hand synchronization issues, some of the ornaments that we use with the left hand, slides, bends, and whatnot. And then there's a whole chapter, once you understand the mechanics, there's a whole chapter dedicated to typical patterns used in the style. So I think in total there are maybe over 130 musical examples, all recorded. So when you buy the book, you get a link, I guess, to all the audio examples, and I think some video examples as well. So yeah, I'm very, very, very proud of this book. I think it's the first of its kind that really explains in detail, like leaving no stones uncovered. And it's the second book written about this topic for gypsy jazz. Second book, and the first one was written 20 years ago. And in those 20 years, since the first book was written by my friend Michael Horowitz, well, I've had, as I said, I've had the opportunity to work with players, not just work with them, but work real up close and observe them from like super close. Players like Jimmy Rosenberg, Chavalo Schmidt, Angelo DeBar, Birel Legren, did I say Stokolo Rosenberg? Like all the very, very best players. I've analyzed all of their picking techniques, and the book is a result of all these years of nerdy research. So please check out the book. All right, here's some little bonus content. Here's a phrase inspired by Angelo DeBar that's not in the book, and it goes like this. So it goes over an E7, and I'm playing it here as a triplet. I'm thinking of this shape, and then some tritone substitution. But it's an E7 phrase, so you can play it over E7, and it goes like this: 4th fret, 7th fret. I'll tell you the pick strokes after. Then 5, 5, 8, 6, 7, and then this shape: 7, 6, 5, 5, and 8 here. 5, 6, 7, B flat. So 8, 6, 8, 5, 6, 7. So super slow. Here it is slow. 3, 4, up, up. One more time, slow. And the pick strokes that I use would be, let's see, I'm not even sure. Okay, nothing very complicated. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Then I sweep all the way to this note. Up, down, down. And this is where I do the kind of trampoline bounce effect that I talk about in the book. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up. So almost all the downstrokes are full rest strokes, except for when I do this trampoline thing, which I talk about in the book. There we go. Happy holidays, and thank you again so much for all the comments, all the support over the years supporting DC Music School. It's thanks to you guys that I'm able to make a living playing music, and it's something that I'm deeply appreciative of. And this allows me in turn to make this free content on YouTube. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.